Welcome everyone to this week in Svelte. This is our 67th episode. Yeah, we are counting. We are counting. I hope you enjoyed like the new waiting template. And shout out to Karim, which is actually helping us with like the graphics and all these things. And so you actually got a small preview of what we are going to look at during this episode. But before we go into the live coding part, which will be quite interesting in my opinion, let's start with, one of, in my opinion, the most important thing of this week in Svelte, and it's keeping up with the changelog. It's on the other side. Let's see what's going on. So Svelte 5 actually bring us a new feat, a more accurate render, mount, and hydrate options. And this is interesting because basically those are the new methods for rendering a component, a Svelte component to a string, mounting a component on the DOM, and hydrate a component on the DOM. And the interesting bit is that like what's more accurate is now the typings. So that basically if you are rendering something and you pass a component in, you will get actually better typing, and you don't have to pass any props, any options if the props are like if you are rendering a component without a prop, for example. So that's interesting. This is actually allow multiple optional parameter with default in snippets. This actually changed how snippets are parsed, because before it was parsed in a certain way, and now basically they are treated as function by the parser, which should solve most of the problem that we had with snippets. Very interesting. And also, I was, to be fair, like I was kind of contrary of this, because if this is a warning for accessibility, which like it's fair. Like if a label has no associated control, it was warning you. And so let me see if I can show you. Basically, if I have a label by itself, you can see that I'm getting this error. A form label must be associated with a control. This because like if I have an input, I should add an ID, my input, and once I do this, I can do for my input, and I should put something here, input. And so now those two are connected, and when I click here, it's actually focusing here. The other way you can actually do this is instead of using the for attribute and the ID attribute, you could in theory just put the input inside the label. This works anyway, so if you click on the label, you will still get the thing. And basically the warning is shut up. And before it was giving a warning in cases like this. So let's say that you had something like script const props is equal to props, and let's say that you are doing something like this, props. So I'm just like styling my input and stuff like that, and then I'm importing input from input. And let's say that I want to use capital input. This before was giving a warning, and now is not anymore. Did I change something? I don't know, but it's fine. So this before was giving a warning, and now is not anymore. like if you have these, it will still use you still get an error. But if you have a component or a snippet inside, it will actually mute the warning. I was kind of opposed to this because, in my opinion, especially with accessibility and stuff like that, it's always fine to overfire. Like, if this was a problem, I could always, like, if I know that inside my component there is an input, I can always do this and say svelte ignore, and I think I need to specify that I want these to be ignored, and this will be ignored anyway, because this, like, the fact that now it's not firing means that if for some reason I remove the input here, now I have a label that has not associated with a form control, and Svelte is not saying anything, which is fine at the end of the day. But yeah, I see a question from Mehdi. We will get to that after the changelog. So let's go back to the changelog. Throw compilation error for malformed snippet. This is a subsequent to this, allow optional parameter with defaults in snippets, because this introduced a bug where if you had a malformed snippet, so you didn't actually close the parentheses and stuff like that, it will still compile, and now it's actually compilation error. And there's also a bump to DTS body, which is actually a breaking change. So if you don't know, DTS body is a library that's always wrote by Rich Harris that helps them to basically get the JavaScript files that they are building and dynamically generate every .d.ts, which is what is giving you autocomplete in your browser, in your IDE, basically. And I was looking at this PR, and it's absolutely crazy because basically, for some reason, if you do something like this, like you can see that you're declaring a module in a .d.ts and exporting only type B. For some reason, TypeScript says, okay, you're doing this, I will export type A anyway. And so they had to change .d.ts to do these, which for some reason TypeScript is happy with. So they bump .d.ts, this DTS body. This is technically a breaking change because if you were importing this type, you now can't anymore. But I think it's a fine breaking change. Remove correct event listener from document, correctly serialize object assignment expression, robustify migration script. They're doing a lot of work around migration script, which in my opinion is a good sign. This means that we are coming up to the actual release, and they are refining the script that most people will use. Improve await block behavior in non-runes mode. It's also very interesting. Like, I really admire, I say this a lot, but I really admire the fact that they are still making so much, like taking so much care of the legacy mode, despite the fact that they want you to use runes, obviously. Like, they are doing so much work just so that you can update to Svelte 5 and have a better experience overall. So I think it's very touching. Improve select handling of dynamic value with placeholders. Yeah, this is our bug fix of various things. Let's see. SvelteKit did not have a release, and there are some release for the language tools, ensure bindings and exports work properly for Svelte 5 plus TypeScript 5.5. So this is the new version of TypeScript, which, by the way, is very exciting. And probably it was not working fine with Svelte 5, so they released a new extension. By the way, update your extension in VS Code if you have any problem. And there's also detect root snippets correctly, prevent false positive store declaration, which is another release. This is actually related to the snippets change that we talked about before, because the language server was expecting the snippets to be formed in a certain way. Yeah, so update your extensions. This is just a bunch of types. They upgraded themselves to TS 5.5. More robust component props. I swear this was older than this. Yeah, I swear this was older than this, but it's fine. I think there's either some problem with Svelte Changelog, or they are releasing with the release script of all these things, because I think they are re-releasing they are creating the changelog in a weird way, but it's fine. So this was the changelog. So let's move now to quick fact and announcement. And the very quick fact that I want to show you today, which will still be a live example, is a live coding example, is this. So how can you I don't know if you are aware, but if you want your users to upload a file, you can actually use input type of file. Obviously, it's not as simple as that. You will always need to fix to retrieve the file from the server side. But yeah, this is giving you this input where there is the file, so you can choose your file. In this case, I'm choosing this funny face. And that's the thing that I want to show you is, let's say that you want to allow the user, let's say that this is an optional field, and you want to allow your users to delete this file that they uploaded. Technically, they cannot do it. Maybe they can do cancel. They can do this, so they can open a file, and then once they open it, they can reopen the file picker and do cancel. And by doing that, they will reset the file. But obviously, you don't want, it's to click. It's not very funny. So let's say that you want to add a button here, and inside a button, you want an X to actually delete this kind of thing. What should you do to delete this file? And the answer is pretty simple, but also maybe unintuitive, because what you want to do is you can have a script, you can have let input, you can bind the input to the file, to the variable, bind these to input. And by the way, I want to also take the opportunity to say this, we are in room mode now, and you still don't need this to be state, just so that you are aware of it, and I will explain why in a bit. But now I can do input.value, and I can just say equal to this, and this will actually, so I can choose a file, and I can say open, and then I can click X, and it will remove the file. So yeah, it's a very quick fact. But this also show a couple of interesting bits. One is that even in run mode, if your input is there since the beginning, you don't need this to be state. So you can actually save this bit. It's interesting because if this is always assigned to the single input, and this input is not wrapped in an if, you can avoid a state variable, which is good, because at the end of the day, the less state you have, the more performant your application will be. it's the fact that by doing input.value equal empty string, you are actually clearing the thing. But there's also another way. And this actually work generally. So let me do this. If your input is wrapped in a form, and I would argue that you should always wrap your input in a form, because let's do things in a progressive enhanced way. What you can do, there are various things to do this, and I want to show you. I think there is, maybe I'm wrong, but you can actually do this. If you do bind type reset, this will reset the whole form. I might be wrong, so I am improvising. So let me see. Yeah. Okay, so this is actually pretty cool because you can do this without JavaScript at all. So I can delete my script tag and I can still do this and it will be deleted. This obviously means that it will be like the whole form will be cleared, but it's fine. But if you want to use JavaScript for some reason, you can also bind to the form. So bind these to the form. So we'll need let form, and then you can do bind type button. I mean, again, I don't know why you should do this one, honestly, but click, and then you can do form.reset. So there's also another way to programmatically reset a form, a whole form. So in this case, again, you can click here, and when you click here, the form is reset. So this was a very quick fact, but I mean, it sparkled a lot of interesting things to know. So let's move to the other juicy part, which I think is even better, which is how to build a hamburger menu. So as you can see, probably I'm a fat guy and I like hamburgers. But yeah, I mean, obviously this was a funny joke because I am very funny. But in general, in the world of the web development, an hamburger menu is something that so I want to actually use Iconify. Hamburger is something that you may recognize in something like this. So this is an hamburger menu. And what this is usually is it's used on mobile and on something like that when you don't have much space. And usually what it does is you click here and it opens a menu, and then you have the selection of the menu. So let's live build these using some brand new browser API, which is always cool because in the end you will see that these will actually work completely without JavaScript, which is super cool. Like being able to do something like an hamburger menu animated without JavaScript is just magic, like for old guys like me that comes from a place where we didn't have round corners. So let's style the button very quickly. It's actually a style. This show how old I am. I don't know why. So button. Another very quick tip. Buttons are quite like annoying to style. First thing first, let me style the body very quickly to remove the margin. And buttons are quite annoying to style. And the thing that I do always is all unset. And now it's just like a div. So it's better. Let's move these margin left auto, and I actually need a display of block here to move it to the other side. We can do a padding of 0.5 RAM just to space things a bit. So this is my wonderful application. And when I click here, I want to open the icons application. So sorry. I know no ne is asking what the icon application. This is Raycast, which is something that I absolutely suggest to you. And if you have Raycast, you can install applications. And the application that I used before is actually Iconify. So you can install this application and you can search all icons and you have SVGs of them, which is super cool because I always find something like this. And yeah, install Raycast because it's super cool. You can build extensions. So yeah. So this is a button now. Someone may argue that we need to add a cursor pointer. This is kind of a dilemma in the web developer world, but let's say that we add a cursor pointer. So now we can click our button. Now we want to build our hamburger menu. So the hamburger menu, I would probably use an aside for this because it's actually to the side. And then let's say that we have, we don't need to have a lot of content here. So our hamburger menu. So let's style these aside. Now, okay, before we style these, let's actually make it work. So how can we make this work? Because obviously now this aside is always there. What we can use is the Popover API, which is a brand new API, but it's actually, if we go to can I use, it's actually pretty, like, you can actually use it. Popover API, yeah, like it's a bunch of greens. Obviously, like for example, Firefox, I think Safari was one of the latest, but yeah, it's there from a couple of months. Firefox was actually late, I think, in May. So yeah, but at the end of the day, like it's pretty well supported unless you need to support IE11 for some reason. But yeah, it's pretty well supported, so you can actually use it. As you can see, like it's 86% of the global market share, so you can actually use it probably. And let's see how it works. So the thing that you need to specify is, first thing first, we need to say that this aside is a popover. The moment we say this, it disappears because the popover by default it's hidden. Then you want to give it an ID, which is hamburger. And then how can we show this? There are JavaScript ways to do it, but the very interesting bit is that we don't need JavaScript for this. You can do popover target, and you say hamburger. And so what this is saying is that this button, when clicked, should open this popover. So if we click this, we have our hamburger menu, which is super duper cool. And this has also a bunch of accessibility features, like the focus is trapped inside the popover. It also has light dismiss, so if you click outside, it will close. It has light dismiss via keyboard, so if you click with the ESC, it will close. I should add. Let me do. Sorry, I'm an accessibility maniac. Button focus visible. Let's add an outline of 1 pix, solid F300, and yes, that's the Svelte green, Svelte orange. Oh, it's too much. Yeah, no, it's actually fine. I should probably have a margin left of auto and a margin. Let's do margin of more RAM, maybe. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think we can also add, I mean, I am line height of 0 to actually have a square thing. Okay, so we have our button and it works. Obviously, this is not styled very good, so let's style it. The thing that we can do, we can style the aside, and we can actually style it normally. So let's say that I want position to be fixed. I want the width to be, I don't know, 30%. I want the height to be 100%. And I want the right to be 0. And I think it's fine. So if we now open it, okay, now I want also the left to be what? Left to be no, I don't think. I want the right to be 0. Position fixed, width and height. Left 0, just out of curiosity. Okay, I am having trouble. Width 100%, position fixed. That's not a position. Absolutely, I don't think it's position fixed. Let me remove the border first thing first. 0. I don't want the border. Y is opening here in the middle. I think it has a margin by default. Margin 0. Let me see. Yeah, okay. I don't know why right 0. It's there though. Let me see. This is 100% the reason why it's happening is because of the included thing. So it has an inset of 0, padding, overflow, auto. Also, it has an inset. So it has an inset of 0. Left 100%. I don't think it's left 100%. Yeah, left. That's weird. I mean, I can do margin left auto and margin 0 probably. Yeah, okay. I can do this. It's fine. We figured it out. So we have light dismiss. We have our Hamburger menu that it opens. It's pretty cool. It's interesting. But now we want this to be animated, which is cool. Like we don't want to just appear. We want to slide in. So how can we do this? Well, the first instinct might be to just say we have the colon popover open. So if we want to style it when popover open, we can do this. So this style will only apply when the popover is open. So let's say that we do background red, for example, and we click. Now he has the background red because the popover is open. Obviously, not very interesting. So let's say that we want to do transform of 100, actually transform of 0, translate x 0. And by default, we want to have transform translate x of 100%. And we want to have a transition on transform, let's say 500 milliseconds. Now, this will not work. Why? Well, because before the popover is open, the display is none. And display none is not animatable. But there is actually a way to do it. And this is another brand new API, basically. And it's called starting style. So what starting style, like we need a couple of new APIs, basically. One is that we want to add another transition on overlay. It needs to have the same API, like the same duration. So we could put these, let's say, let's do things how we should do it. So duration is 500 milliseconds, and then we want to do var duration. We want to have a var duration on the overlay and a var duration on display. But for overlay and display, we want to add allow discrete. And what this does is it allows you to animate these properties, which is super cool, right? We can finally animate from display none to display you know what, to display none from display block. Okay. So just by doing this, I think we can start seeing something. Exactly. Did you see it? So when you do this and when you close the pop-up, it slides away. Very cool, right? But why is not the opposite? Well, because again, this is a special kind of like when the popover is popping open, with this allow discrete, we are actually telling the browser, okay, don't let me animate over this property and over this property, but we need another bit, which is the starting style. So by doing this at starting style, what I can do is I can specify a starting style. So when these things come into existence, I want to have a specific style that then can animate and can transform. So if I do this and I copy this and I move this here, this will be basically the needs to be the same as this, because it's basically the style that the browser will apply as soon as the popover opens. And as soon as there is this popover open, it will apply this state here, and then it will transition to this other state here. So now, if I did everything correct, when I click here, oh, I did something wrong. I knew it. I think I need to, I think I need to move these up because, I think I need to move this up. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Because the point is you want to use the cascade to override these with this starting style. So if this was above, this was always overriding this style, while this is kind of a media query. So you have to think of it as with the cascade in mind. And so just by doing this, which is not much, like it's 46 line of code, not JavaScript at all, and you can open an Hamburger menu and you can close it. And the nice thing is that you can also style the backdrop. So just like for the dialog element, for example, you can do aside, backdrop, and you can style the backdrop. So let's say that we add a background color of let's say FF300, and let's add a slight, like we don't want to overdo the things here. So by doing this, you can actually have the, like, you can cover the rest of your page, so that if you have something else, I don't know what you should have. But yeah, it's very fun. And obviously you can also use the same trick here. So by doing this, you can also animate your backdrop. So if you do background color, actually let's do opacity of I think maybe I'm wrong, but maybe you don't even need starting style. You can just need you can just transition. If I transition from, and this I think I don't know if you have access to the duration here, but I think if you transition overlay and let's see, not because you don't have access to the duration. This is something that people are no, okay. So we might need to do something with opacity too. So let's say opacity is so this is the end state. So the backdrop, the end state needs 1. I want a starting style of aside backdrop opacity of 0, and you want to transition opacity over duration opacity over duration. Let's say that if it works, yeah, you see it. It animates in. It does not animate out. So we probably need to do something else to make it animate out. Oh, you know why? Because the backdrop will actually cease to exist only when the popover is not open anymore. So we cannot have a backdrop that is not open. So we cannot actually do that. But I think it's fine anyway. Like, it's maybe even cooler to do this. I wonder if allow discrete. I mean, in theory, it's already, let's say, if allow discrete actually helps. I don't think it will. Yeah, no. Okay. I will see if I can find something. So, yeah. So let's see. I think this is fine. And the one thing that I want to also, let's actually introduce a bit of JavaScript now, because I want to do a series of links. So, I mean, I don't actually need this, but it's fine. We are in Svelte. We can do it. Links is equal $state. And I want to have, I don't know, slash. Actually, let's do link slash title home. Let's finish this for good. I can do this, and this. Let's do about blog. I don't know, blog contacts, and let's now actually loop over each links as link and we can actually print them. Actually, I mean, we don't even need each. We don't even need state, to be fair. We can just use Svelte. And let's actually add Svelte options runes just because we can. And let's print actually, we are accessibility driven. So UL, this maybe should be a nav instead of an aside. UL, li, oh, actually the li, it should be in the href link dot link a link dot title. So if you click here, we have home about blog. Yeah, now obviously it's leaving the context of the iframe, but is not focusing outside of it, which is still good. Yeah, I think it's a very nice thing, and I hope that you learned something. So let's see if there are any questions, because first thing first, is it possible to make the context API reactive with runes? And the answer is yes. So, I mean, I don't know what you mean but by the context API reactive, but let's say that we have parent.svelte with just import child. So let's say child.svelte, I have script. I'm just importing child from child.svelte and rendering child. And let's say that we want to give our child access to the state. So let's also import parent. We have parent, and we have our state here. So let's do, we can print our count. Count in up count. And in child, we want a button with an on click. And inside this on click, we want to +1 something. I'm rendering child. We want to render parent. So now we have the +1. As you can see, like the count is here in up, and we want to do something in the child. So what we can do is we can import set context from Svelte. And actually, you know what? Let's do. I want to show this. I already showed this some other time, but I think it's interesting to show it anyway. So if you want to use context, it's much better to do something like this. You can create your own file. So let's say counter.js. You can import set context and get context here from Svelte. And you can basically do your thing here. So you can use, so you can do const key, it's equal to symbol. Symbol is something that like we can actually do counter context. And now we can export a function set that will take an object as input, and it will call set context with the key and the object. And then we can export a function get that will return get context with the key. And actually, if you want to be completely sure, you can actually do this. What this helps you to do is eliminate the key part of get context and set context. So you can just import set and get from counter.js. And if it's actually using TypeScript, it's even better because you can actually type those functions shaping the object that you want to receive. And so now we can import from this counter. So instead of importing set context from there, we can import set from counter.js, and we can do set. Now, what do we want to set? We want to pass this count to the child, but actually we don't really want to pass the count. We just want, this is something that like you will get a warning if you do this, basically, from Svelte. Because the recommended way, instead of passing down the state, unless you actually need to show the state, for example, but if you just want to modify the state, the best option is just to pass a function. So in this case, what we can do is instead of passing count, we can just set an object and we can pass this increment function here. So now inside our context, we have the increment function, and from child, we can import get from counter.js, and we can use the increment equal get. Now we have this increment function, and we can actually do this. So by doing this, what we do is we pass this increment function that access state inside this component. We are passing this down to the parent, and actually not to the parent, to the context, and child, which is a child of an indirect child of app, can actually get this increment and call it inside the button, and now this should work. Now, as I've said, let's say that you want to actually show these. For example, you want to show the total also inside the button. You can do that. As for any boundaries that you want to cross, you need to provide a getter or a function. So you have two options. You can either provide a get count, for example. So by doing these, you can then return count. And inside our child, what we can do is we can get the rest, because we cannot destructure, because the moment you destructure, you are actually getting the value. And now we can do context.count, for example. And so this means that we can actually say 0 plus 1. Oh, this should work. I wonder if the spread is messing with, or if there is another problem. That's weird. This should work. Let's see. Let's do something else. So instead of doing get count, we can actually call get count, just a function. So we can then destructure get count from here, and now we want to call this function. Yeah, now this works. It's weird that with the getter is not working. Yeah, I have to investigate why it's not working because it should work. But by the way, now it works. So this is how you can pass also state down. Let's see if there are any other questions. More complex case, removing individual files. Now I want hamburgers. Flex block to your white space. Happy Friday, Paulo. Thanks, Hunter. Love it, HTML. How you cannot love HTML? I'd have an addendum on resetting files, namely removing individual file from a multi-file input. Could maybe be of interest. Obviously, Stalky, if you want to join, or even if you want to just explain yourself, but if you want to join, I can actually, and this is also, by the way, I should probably do this more often, but if you want to join and say something, you can just join at StreamYard, and I will put you on stage and let you say the thing that you want to say. Can I close a pop-up without JS, for example, on navigation? I wonder, on navigation, if you're not using a client-side router, it will actually navigate away, so it will close because it's just changing page. And if you are client-side navigating, then you have JavaScript, so you can actually do it. Things like SvelteKit have hooks for the client, for example, on Navigate. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think you can even just select the popover and manually close it with element dot. I think I have to check. I think it's close popover, something like that. My question is, why set not reactive in state, also map? The reason for this is because set and map are reactive if you import them from, so wet5 preview.vercel.up. So to have a reactive set and reactive Stalky has joined. I can't wait to hear from him. I will actually throw you on the stage. Let me see if it's okay. Can I throw you on the stage? Set and map are reactive, but you need to import them from Svelte/reactivity. So if you do this, you can create a new set here, a new set, and then you can add, for example, you can do .add mat.random, and then let's say that we are doing each count as item each, and then we show item, and we want to have a button on click, and we can do increment. So if we do this, in theory, this should work. Yeah, we are, it's not the prettiest thing ever, but it's working. So now this is reactive. And if your question is why I cannot just make a new map reactive with state, that's a different question. And the answer for that is that set and map are JavaScript objects, classes, and reactivities stop at the class. So if you use native objects, you can create a new state with const x is equal $state, and then you can create this object like this, an object literal. But if you pass a class, the class will not become deeply reactive. Because class works a little differently. So to actually implement a set that works reactively, Svelte had to create an implementation of it. So I'm very excited before going on with other questions, I'm very excited about what Stalky has to say. So I'll come to the stage. Hi, Stalky.
Hello. Can you hear me? I guess you can.
I don't think I can hear you. I don't know if it's just me. Let me see. Maybe
it shows a audio signal in StreamYard at least.
You're talking.
Okay, chat says
I don't know
that
how
it works. So
I'll leave you the stage for you. I don't know if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, I will.
Because I cannot hear you for some reason. That's
Okay.
very weird. Let me see settings. Yeah, I should. I don't know why I cannot hear you. Okay, I will add your screen to the stage and remove mine so that you can actually explain everything. And I will make a funny face to say, yeah, I agree with Stocky.
Great. So one of the things that was actually a breaking change in Svelte 5 is that the binding on the files input now goes both ways. I've set up a simple scenario here for just showing a file list. So if I reset this, select a few files here, then you get the list and it's also in the file input. But this uses the onChange listener and enumerates the files here, updates the state. But the problem is if I remove files now from this list, it's still up there in the file input. And to update that, there's not really a very straightforward way to do that. So I'm going to explain how to do it. Like first, we changed this one here to a binding of files. Now we run into the first issue, which is that the input has a file list, not an array. So we remove this to get rid of the default. So now the input will propagate the files in here. Now, if we would select something here, that should still work because the files automatically updates. So this is no longer necessary. The problem is removing files because this is a file list. It doesn't really have much of an API. You can't just filter or remove or anything. That's why you need a data transfer object, which is, I think, originally intended for drag and drop, but you can abuse it in this case. So you data transfer, new data transfer, and this object has items you can add to. So you do this, that's the items you want. Though actually I have to first convert that into an array because it's still a file list. So you can use array from or the spread operator, doesn't matter. And now I just call for each on that to add the items on that. So I think items.add. And then you can get a file list from this great object, which is called files. And then I just set the files like this. And ideally, now if I add some files, when I remove them, they also get removed from the input. This can be important if you have a form that sends the files by a regular form post. So you want to make sure that the files are actually gone from the input as well. That's about all I wanted to show here.
And by the way, I mean, you might think I'm crazy. Like I actually added, like I put my earphone on, and I can hear you now. But I'm not crazy. Like it was not plugged in before, so for some reason it's not. I cannot hear anything from the default speakers. But adding the earphones, I can hear you. So by the way, it's very cool. I actually didn't know about this trick, so thank you.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Hopefully they would add some proper APIs for this at some point, but I'm not sure if anything is planned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very weird quirk of JavaScript because like they have all these like array-like things that are not actually array, like a node list and like a file list and stuff like that. And yep, thank you, Starkey. And I think on this up note, and actually, like, if you want to stay for a couple of more seconds, we can actually like quit this episode together, because I'm very happy. And by the way, if any of you want to talk, feel free to, like, just like Stalky did, feel free to write in the chat, and I will gladly let you talk. I'm always enjoying when people join the stream. So thank you for bothering with me. I hope you learned something. I hope you you had a fun 1 hour. Actually, 1 hour. Oh my gosh, time flies. Thank you, Saki, for joining in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye.
Bye.